God is unveiling all those things that have been covered up. Those things he's untangling those things that have been tied up. And so we are really, as Pastor Nicole said, super excited as to what God is doing. You should see us during the day. We talk about, all these things during the day, and we are really excited about what God is doing. And I just thank God also for my wife, Pastor Nicole. Thank God for you and for what you're doing and for the encouragement, how you always encourage me. And so, folks, we want to continue this evening. And remind me, please, before we end tonight, I want to end maybe just a couple of minutes earlier. There's something that I want to do at the end. So remind me if I just hand over to Pastor Nicole, just remind me there's something that I have to do, please. So let's continue. We're in 2 Timothy chapter 2, and it says, in the last days, perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce. We did all those. Despisers of those that are good, traitors, and we have reached heady. And we said last evening that heady is when you're flighty, when you do things without thinking, when you're impulsive. The Bible talks about feet that quick to rush into, what is it? You're running headlong into problem. I just had a brain thing there, but this is what heady means. Maybe I'm a bit heady too. So this is what heady means. You're not thinking, you don't think properly. You just act on impulse. Now, there are times when you have to act impulsively. That's for self-preservation, to protect yourself. But we're talking about people, their whole life, this is how they operate. They just do things. And that's a heady person. But we also saw that heady means that you are not in control of your faculties. You're under the influence. So people who drink, alcoholics, people who drink a lot, and they do things because they have drunk and because they are drunk. These are heady people. I didn't understand. So we talked about that, and we started to talk about drinking alcohol. And I asked the question last evening, is it a sin to drink alcohol? And we got feedback from you all. Some of you said yes, some of you said no, and you gave your reasons why. And we want to continue. And we were looking at the Old Testament, and we will come to the New Testament as well. We were looking at the Old Testament and how they used wine in the Old Testament. And we saw a couple things. We saw that wine, and we're talking about fermented wine, was used as part of the offering to God, unto God. The men and women of God offered wine as part of the offering. We also saw that wine was a sign of blessing. It talks about in Genesis and Deuteronomy and Joel and a couple other verses where it talks about God says he will bless you. He would bless them. He was talking to the Israelites. He said he would bless them with new wine. We also saw that when it came into the presence of God, they brought wine. We also looked at the fact that when wine was taken away, it was a sign of God's judgment. He said, I will take away your wine. I will take away your new wine. So wine was something that they were accustomed to. And that's where we reached last evening. And I want to start this evening by saying that in those days, they drank wine more than they drank water. Let me say that again. In the Old Testament days, wine was drunk more than water. And the reason for that is because the water was unhealthy. It was contaminated. So it wasn't like how we have today. We have bottled water, we have spring water, we have all sorts of water. But in those days, they didn't have that. And so they drank wine. And let's look at some instances and some other instances where they drank wine. Genesis 14:18, I trust that Joshua would have put these in the chat and that you would have chosen, your verses to read. If not, then I'm going to ask You know, whoever gets it first, First Lady, please be prepared to read. Genesis 14:18. Now, this is when Abraham met Melchizedek in the Old Testament after he had gone after his nephew Lot, and he was in a battle with the kings, and he won the battle, and he was coming back, and he met Melchizedek, or Melchizedek, as some people say, for the first time. Genesis 14:18. Can someone read that for me, please?
Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was the priest of God Most High.
He was what? He was
the
what?
Priest.
The priest of God. And he brought out bread, and not juice, bread and wine. So Melchizedek served wine to Abraham. Judges 19:16-21. If you've chosen a verse to read, please have it ready.
Judges 19:16-21. Just then an old man came in from his work in the field at evening, who also was from the mountains of Ephraim. He was staying in Gibeah, whereas the men of the place were Benjamites. And when he raised his eyes, he saw the traveler in the open square of the city. And the old man said, "Where are you going? And where do you come from?" So he said to him, "We are passing from Bethlehem in Judah toward the remote mountains of Ephraim. I am from there. I went to Bethlehem in Judah. Now I'm going to the house of the Lord. But there's no one who will take me into his house. Although we have both straw and fodder for our donkeys, and bread and wine for myself, for your female servant, and for the young man who is with your servant, there is no lack of anything." And the old man said, "Peace be with you. However, let all your needs be my responsibility. Only do not spend the night in the open square." So he brought him into his house and gave fodder to the donkeys, and they washed their feet and ate and drank.
All right. So we don't have time to go into that story, but this was a man of God, and he was going from one place to another. His wife, he had a wife, his wife had left him. He went back to get the wife, and he spent a few days where she was. And then after that, he was traveling back home, and the nightfall came, and so they had to spend the night in the square. And this man met him. And again, this is a man of God, and he's carrying wine. And they ate and they drank. And what do you think they drank? Not water, but they drank wine. Let's look at Genesis 27:25.
He said, bring it to me. He said, bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's game, so that my soul may bless you. So he brought it near to him, and he ate. And he brought him wine, and he drank.
All right, so this is Isaac, the story of Jacob and Esau. And again, we don't have time to go into this story, but Jacob brought the thing that he had prepared, that actually his mother had prepared for him to fool his father. So he brought it to his father. His father said, "Bring it there to me, I will eat of it." And he also brought wine. So Isaac drank wine. Okay, so let's look at some other verses. And we're going through this because we want to answer the question, is it okay to drink wine? Now, this is the Old Testament we're talking about. We are in the Old Testament. We'll get to the New in a minute. Ecclesiastes 9:7 and Psalm 104:14-15.
Dr. Joseph, Ecclesiastes 9:7. Go, eat your bread with joy, and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has already accepted your works.
Right, you hear that? Eat your bread with joy and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has accepted your works. All right. Now, this is not grape juice, they're talking about wine, because they're talking about a merry heart as well. So this is fermented wine. Psalm 104, 14 and 15.
Good night, everyone. Psalm 104, verse 14 to 15. He caused the grass to grow for the cattle and vegetation for the service of man, that he may bring forth food from the earth, and wine that makes glad the heart of man, oil to make his face shine, and bread which he strengthens man's heart.
Right, to hear that, and they're talking about God. He causes the grass to grow for the cattle, vegetation for the service of man, and wine that makes glad the heart of man can't be grape juice. We're talking about wine, because you know what happens when you drink wine. Wine has alcohol in it. What we're trying to show here is that wine brought joy. There was a joy associated with wine. Jeremiah 31, 10 to 12, and Amos 9, 13 and 14.
Hear the word of the Lord, O ye nations, and declare it in the isles afar off, and say, he that scattered Israel will gather him, and keep him as a shepherd does his flock. For the Lord has redeemed Jacob, and ransomed him from the hand of him that was stronger than he. Therefore they shall come and sing in the height of Zion, and shall flow together to the goodness of the Lord, for wheat and for wine, for oil and for the young of the flock and of the herd. And their soul shall be as a weathered garden, and they shall not sorrow any more at all.
I hear that, and they will not suffer anymore. So joy, wine brought joy. Let's look at Amos 9, 13 and 14.
Yes, Dr. Richards, I have that scripture verse. Behold, the days are coming, says the Lord, when the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the treader of grapes him who sows seed. The mountains shall drip with sweet wine, and all the hills shall flow with it. I will bring back the captives of my people, Israel. They shall build the waste cities and inhabit them. They shall plant vineyards and drink wine from them. They shall also make gardens and eat fruit from them.
All right. So again, this talks about the blessing of the Lord. All right. So wine brought joy. Now, with all of that, though, let's look at some verses that says something kind of different. Let's look at Leviticus 10, verses 8 to 11. Who has that one?
Then the Lord spoke to Aaron, saying, do not drink wine or intoxicating drink, you nor your sons with you, when you go into the tabernacle of meeting, lest you die. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, that you may distinguish between holy and unholy, and between unclean and clean, and that you may teach the children of Israel all the statutes which the Lord has spoken to them by the hand of Moses.
Right. So there's a warning now. There's a warning to Aaron and his sons. Do not drink wine or intoxicating drink. All right. There are other intoxicating drinks as well. Do not drink that, you or your sons, when you go into the tabernacle. So here now is a prohibition of, from drinking wine. Let's look at Isaiah 5:11.
Woe to those who rise early in the morning, that they may follow intoxicating drink, who continue until night, till wine inflames them.
Another woe, another warning. Woe to those who rise early in the morning and drink. We have a lot of that happening right here. In TNT, people get up early in the morning and they have alcohol for breakfast. I don't know how people can do that. But anyway, Psalm 21, you all know this one.
Yes, Dr. Richards, Proverbs 21. Wine is a mocker, strong drink is a brawler, and whoever is led astray by it is not wise. Sorry.
Right. Wine is a mocker. Wine mocks you. All right. How does it mock you? because when you drink it, all kind of nonsense happen. And it said, whoever is led astray, I think the King James said, whoever is deceived by it is not wise. Let's go quickly, Habakkuk 2:15 and 16.
Is Dr. Richards. Woe to him who gives drink to his neighbor, pressing him to your bottle, even to make him drunk, that you may look on his nakedness. You are fulfilled with shame instead of glory. You also drink and be exposed as uncircumcised. The cup of the Lord's right hand will be turned against you, and utter shame will be on your glory.
So another warning again, another warning. Let's look at a couple more verses. Genesis 9:20 to 25. Anybody have that one?
Yes, Dr. Richards, Genesis 9:20 to 25.
Mm-hmm.
And Noah began to be a farmer, and he planted a vineyard. Then he drank of the wine and was drunk, and became uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his two brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. So Noah awoke from his wine, and he knew what his younger son had done to him. Then he said, cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants, he shall be to his brethren.
All right, so let's stop here for a second. Noah, who was Noah? Who was Noah? Wasn't Noah the man that said, found grace in the eyes of the Lord? Wasn't Noah the one who built the ark, who God chose him and his family? What did I say? Noah drank wine and was drunk. So what does that mean? What does that say? I want you to ponder that for a minute. Okay, we're looking at the question. I don't want us to lose sight of the question. Is it okay for a Christian to drink alcohol? Let's look at Genesis 19:30-38 and Esther 1:10 and 11.
Genesis 19:30-38.
Mm-hmm.
Then Lot went out to Zoar and dwelled in the mountains, and his two daughters were with him, for he was afraid to dwell in Zoar. And he and his two daughters dwelled in a cave. Now the firstborn said to the younger, our father is old, and there is no man on the earth to come in to us as the custom of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve the lineage of our father. So they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he did not know when she lay down or when she arose.
And it happened on the next day that the firstborn said to the younger, indeed, I lay with my father last night. Let us make him drink wine tonight also, and you go in and lie with him, that we may preserve the lineage of our father. Then they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he did not know when he lay down or when she arose.
Thus both the daughters of Lot were with child by their father. The firstborn bore a son, called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. And the younger, she also bore a son, and called his name Ben-Ami. He is the father of the people of Ammon to this day.
All right. And just one more, we're going to read and then we're going to skip across to the New Testament. Esther 1:10 and 11.
On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Bitstar, Habona, Bigta, and Abagta, Zeta, and Carcass, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to show the people and the princess her beauty, for she was fair to look on.
Thank you. All right, so we have read some verses there, some interesting verses. The last 3, especially with Noah, with Lot, and also with King Ahasuerus, with Esther. I want to pause here for a minute. What are you getting from this? What are you getting from what we've read so far? Because in one instance, we see that people were drinking, and yet there is a warning against drinking. So up to this particular point, what are your thoughts on this question? Should we drink wine or not drink wine? If that's all the evidence that you had, what would you say? Anybody?
All right, 2 people, hands are up. Shalman and Brother Sheldon and Sister Debbie.
Dr. Richards, I was watching a verse of scripture, Proverbs 31, from verse 4 to 7.
All right, listen, hold up on that. We come into that.
Okay.
Yeah, we come into that. Actually, I was looking at that just before I came on here, and I thought it might be an interesting thing for us to discuss. All right, so I wanted to hold off on that for now.
Okay.
Yeah? Okay. I hope you don't mind, but you know, I saw it. I said, look, let me leave that for last. Let's come back to that. All right. Okay. Anyone else?
So we have yes, Dr. Richards. We have Sister Debbie.
Blessed night to the family. Professor, I sit down here and I taking little notes, right? And yeah, what I gather now, the one with what we just read yesterday, where the 2 sisters went and they lie with the father and them kind of thing, right? And they hear what they said, right? They give him strong wine to drink. Some of the stories on them, right, is where they were not even conscious. Some of them were forced. It was forced upon them. Right?
Wait, hold up. How could you force somebody to drink?
Okay, so let me say the 2 sisters on them that's now there, right? They say that the planet, now the plot, they will give our father strong wine to drink, right? Now remember, the man might just take 1 drink, 2 drinks for the most. And you know, people like me, so my head red light time I drink 3 beer, I knock out. I knock out in a tree. You understand? So probably he will be have a, you know, like in that sense too now. So they keep on pushing it, remember the plotting now. Right? So it looked like that in one instance. And I think with the one with Noah, right? If correctly, almost the same thing too. Suppose Noah couldn't really handle it. You know, he take 1 drink too, and you know, he was intoxicated. So to me, some of the stories on them, now, to me, some of the stories on them is where they wasn't really fully conscious, you know, about.
So temporary insanity, that's what you're saying. You're pleading temporary insanity. But the point is they drank in the first place. And
yeah, but they didn't consume much, right?
Okay, let me ask you something, Sister Deb. You said you drink 1 or 2 things on your head, your head bad, as we say. Yes. Then won't you not drink? Won't you say I cannot drink if I take 2? Okay, for example, me. This is me personally. I don't like the taste of alcohol. I don't know how people could drink, especially beer. But for me, if I take there's a little bit of alcohol, my head starts to spin. So I stay away from it. All right. I would say, and I'm talking about from since I was young, I could not handle alcohol, and I knew that. And because I knew that, I would stay away from that. So I'm saying you're saying that they took advantage of them, but it means that they did drink. For them to be taken advantage of, they did drink it.
Yes, I totally agree with that. But the end thing sometimes too. Okay, let me jump this one fast too. What about the priests and them? Right? They said you're not supposed to drink any strong drink before you go into the temple. Right? Professor, you're a man of God. You understand? You're in a position. right? I think one of the scriptures say, you know, talking about deacons and them thing. I just kind of strain out of it. You're not supposed to consume strong wine, strong alcohol either, because remember you're in a position. So these fellas and them who they say not supposed to take strong drinks and them thing. They are man of God. They are Aaron, and Aaron and them is the high priest. Right. So therefore they're not supposed to consume that. You understand? So I just
so what I'm trying to get what you're actually saying then. Because you're making a case of both sides. Right.
The one with the sisters on them?
The one you're saying they're taking advantage, and then now you're saying, well, they weren't supposed to be consuming it.
No, well, the Aarons and them, they were priests.
Or the Aarons and them? Oh.
Yeah, okay. Aarons and them, they were priests. They were not supposed to. Right?
All right.
Okay. Right?
I hear you. Okay, thank you. You know what? I want to come back to Sheldon, Brother Sheldon. Come ask a question. Let's deal with that before I was going to leave that for last.
We have
let's
deal with it now. We have two hands up, Jonathan and Reginald Jack.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to do it one.
Okay, let's take the, Jonathan and Reginald Jack quickly, and then we get back to Brother Sheldon.
Dr. Ted, listen to all our scripture verses. I realize that people drinking wine like they drinking juice.
Yeah. Yes, Jonathan, because as I told you, in those days, they drank wine more than they drank water. All right, because water, it wasn't so easy to get.
Reginald Jack.
Reginald Jack.
Yes, good night to everyone. What I gather from this is that in the case of Noah, right? He drank a lot of it excessively. I find you're supposed to drink in moderation. And if they drank in moderation, they wouldn't get drunk.
Okay.
That is what I gather from that.
Right. Thank you so much, Brother Reginald. Yes, Brother Sheldon, let's come back to you on this verse. I really thought this verse was really interesting. That's why I wanted to leave it for last. So let's talk about it.
You hear me?
Yes.
Let me read it. Let me read it so that everybody could understand it.
Right.
It said, "It is not for kings, O Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine, nor princes intoxicating drink, lest they drink and forget the law and pervert the justice for all the afflicted." Right? But that's up verse 4 and verse 5. Verse 4 and but verse 6 says, "Give strong drink to him who is perishing, and wine to those who are bitter of heart. Let him drink and forget his poverty and remember his misery no more."
Yes. So, question, comment?
Right. So right. I understand the first part where it says, okay, and I understand, okay, that a king should not drink intoxicating drink, lest it would really cloud their judgments. And I understand that, right? But what is from verse 6?
Verse 6 is the problem.
It says, "Give intoxicating drink to them who are perishing."
Yeah.
He said, give it to them.
Yeah, and that's a switch.
Yes, right. And then it went on to say, "Let the man drink so that the man would forget his poverty and forget his misery." So when I read it,
it's paradoxical. Yeah,
exactly.
So let me see if I could explain. First of all, we have to remember that the book of Proverbs is a book of guidelines. It is not always to be taken literally. When I say taken literally, I want you to understand what I'm saying. It is to help us to understand, how to deal with certain things. But it doesn't mean that okay, let me give you a verse of scriptures from Proverbs so that you'd understand my point rather than trying to explain it. Train up a child in the way that he should go. And when he's old, he will not depart from it. Does that really happen? Does that happen in all cases? No, but our responsibility is to train up the child. It doesn't mean that automatically when he gets old, he will not depart from it. But this is a guideline. This is to tell us what we are supposed to do. This is our responsibility as parents. So it doesn't work out always, and we have to be careful with Proverbs, because when we look at the Proverbs, they are wise saying, but they don't always fit every occasion, and it is not one size fits all. So we have to understand that about the book of Proverbs. Secondly, this one here, and I smiled when you brought it up because I looked at it just today. I was looking at it. If you go back from verse 1, it says, the words of King Lemuel, the utterance which his mother taught him. So this is his mother speaking. And it is suggested by scholars that this Lemuel really was Solomon, King Solomon. I can't say for sure. This is what some of them say. The words of King Lemuel, the utterance which his mother taught him. What, my son, and what, son of my womb, and what, son of my vows, do not give your strength to woman, nor your ways to that which destroys kings. So she's giving her son some wise counsel, some instruction. It is not for kings, O Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine, nor princes intoxicating drink, lest they drink and forget the law and pervert the justice of all the afflicted. You see, the kings were the ones who, they were like the judges. So they would make pronouncement, they would make laws, just as we do today. We have, instead of a king, we have a parliament, we have judges, and we have a separation, with the judiciary and the legislature and that kind of thing. But in those days, the king was everything. So the king had to be focused. He couldn't be intoxicated and somebody come, to him for judgment, and he, because of the intoxication, he decided whether people lived or died in it. And whatever the king says was law. So she's telling her son, listen, don't drink wine, don't get drunk, because you are in a responsible position. And then she says, no, give drink to him who is perishing, and wine to those who are bitter of heart. So she's telling her son, you see the drinking, leave it to them, leave it for them. As a matter of fact, what they started doing is that people who were condemned to death, I don't know if you've ever seen on TV where they ask somebody, what's your last, what is your last meal? What meal you want before we hang you, before we take out your life? We will take away your life. We'll give you whatever it is you ask for. Where there was something like that. Those who were condemned, perishing, give them wine so that their heart would be merry as they, go to their fate. That is what she was saying. And those who were really poor, she was saying, listen, give them, let them drink. So, that way, this is what we're doing to help them, so that they will forget that they're poor and they will be happy. So she was trying to give her son some advice how to treat with his position as king. So one, don't drink the wine because you'll make bad decisions. And two, help out those who really can't help themselves. Give them the wine, let them drink, let them be happy, because they will forget. I mean, you mightn't be able to take them out of poverty, but give them something to forget their poverty. So basically, this is what this is saying. Again, the book of Proverbs is not to take it and say, well, this is what we're supposed to do. But this is what she advised her son to do. So she said, people in misery, give them something to, give them wine to drink. And I think that is still practiced here, People do it, they do it for themselves. They drink to forget their situation. They drink to forget where they are at. They drink to forget their problems. That's what they do. In her case, she's telling her son, listen, you give them the drink. Give them. And so, you're helping them by doing that. So basically, that is what those particular verses are saying, Brother Sheldon. All right. So we're gonna, unless there are any questions, we want to stop here for tonight. We're gonna get into the New Testament tomorrow and see what it says. But it's really very interesting when we come to the New Testament. There's some further questions that I want to ask you to think about and to answer. And we'll talk, hopefully we will get to that tomorrow, God's willing, when we start in the New Testament. So first of all, before I get into what I wanted to share with you at the end, is there anyone with a question? Are there any questions, comments, anybody? No? We good? Everybody's all right?
Elder Gail's hand is up.
Elder Gail.
Just a comment on the explanation that you just gave regarding Brother Sheldon's question. I think you did a fantastic job in clarifying that, because there is no way now, after having heard that explanation, that one would think otherwise. I found you were quite clear, in that explanation of those verses of scripture. So that's just the comment I wanted to make here.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Bless God for that. Okay, so if there are no further questions or comments, today the planning committee led by Sister Noel sent me some voice notes, and it triggered something in me. Now, for those of us who are composers and songwriters, well, let me not say for those of us. For me, as a songwriter and as a composer, sometimes I hear something and it just sparks something in me, and it inspires me to either write a song or to write a poem or something. And she sent the first voice note she sent to me, it just triggered something in me. And I said, you know what? Let me do this. Let me do this. So, as you know, on the 27th of May, we are having our family day or sports, well, not, I guess it's sports and family day, family fun day, or family fun day. And we have started planning, we have started putting things in place. Those of you who are not aware of what we're talking about, check the chat, because all the information has been put in the chat. And I want Joshua, my son David, I don't want to call him David's name, Joshua, I gave you something, I sent something for you. Folks, I want you to listen to this. So here's what I'm going to do. Now we have East, West, North, South, Central, Tobago, we have overseas. I want to start the rivalry now. Now we will be competing on that day. I want to start the rivalry even before. Now this is friendly rivalry, just in case anybody is listening and I'm not sure what's going on. This is friendly rivalry. So I want to start the rivalry now by having a little competition. So Joshua, I want you to play that thing for me and for them to hear, and then I'll tell them what the competition is. Hear me now, live right family. I want you all to listen to me. I want to talk about our gathering, cause it look like it's going to be exciting. People will be coming from all about Tobago, Central, East, West, North, and South. It happening on the 27th of May. Live Right Ministry, Sports and Family Day. All right. So you heard that. So I want to have a little competition. East, West, North, South. Who could come up with the best extempo? Who could come up with the best little ditty like that? You're representing your area. Now you could anything on the family day, whether it's the jerseys or the venue or the transport or whatever it is. You could sing about anything concerning the family day or how good it will be, whatever. But I want to, when you do that, you'll put it in the chat and you say what area you're representing. Okay, now you don't have to have one person from the area. If you feel you could do something, represent your area. Put it in the chat. At the end, I will be the deciding person. I will decide which one was the best one. You might do it in the day. And you don't have to do one. You could do more than one. So I want the people in the East and the people in the West, the North, the South, the Central, Tobago, overseas, come up with a little thing, put it in the chat. You have all the information in the chat concerning everything, the jerseys and the venues and the time and everything else. It's there for you. So I'm challenging you. to come up with a little something. And let's see. So the rivalry has started right now. I pronounce it open. The rivalry between East, West, North, South, Central, Tobago, and overseas. Let's see who could come up with the best little something. And it's going to be fun. All right. So with having said that, let me say thank you so much for being here tonight, for setting aside your time to be together with this family, the Live Right family. God richly bless all of you. I love you dearly. My family loves you dearly. And you are our family. You are our family. So let me hand back over quickly to First Lady to close.